Welcome to DFS Karma, where we talk about our favorite fantasy sports plays for football, basketball, baseball, and pretty much everything else. Be sure to check out and create an account with all of our partners, such as MonkeyKnifeFight.online, PrizePicks.online, and StatHero.online. Use the promo code KARMA on any of these sites to get an exclusive deposit bonus. And don't forget to check out all of our free fantasy content on DFSKarma.com, as well as our own premium plays. Without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Please welcome today's hosts.
Is up, Karma Nation. Welcome back again to the cash process. I think this is year 4, maybe year 5. I'm your host, AC, with DFS Karma and Bet Karma. And as always, I have my co-captain, co-pilot, Ben Hostler. How are you doing this evening? We got football back. It's crazy. What a year, 2020. But we're back at it. You know, the peoples need us. You know, the YouTube channel, we're growing back again after getting shut down about a year ago. So again, want to open with that in specific. If you can, give us a like. We totally appreciate it. It's very helpful to us, especially on YouTube, Apple, Android, and give us a follow as well at any of the social media handles at DFS_Karma and at Bet_Karma. Ben, how are you doing this evening? How excited are you for some football in 2020?
Yeah, I'm so ready. I was just talking to my good friend before we got on here, and I was like, after the 3 months of no sports or whatever it was, I cannot wait to tilt my cash game lineup all week and try and figure out what 2v2 I want to play, and then tilt guys scoring touchdowns on Sunday. I can't wait. It's going to be so great. I do know, as far as DFS goes, there's really been no one hotter than you, honestly. I mean, you have been on an epic run, like a 2 or 3 week run. One of the best runs I've ever seen from you. You finally got off the schneid with the live final seat for MLB. So I don't know, how have you been doing with that?
That is coming up. I can't wait. We were kind of just talking, as always, baseball. That's where we were born. We talked about it a little bit right before we went on air. And yeah, it's been an incredible ride. Obviously, the joke always with us is the cash process. Think about the DNA of this podcast. It's the same thing. Trust in the process. I've never really done anything different, in full disclosure. Yeah, it started in golf. I will go off tangent very quickly for those that want to start berating us already in the YouTube channel. But guess what? It's week 1. We're going to talk. This is a long season. This is our favorite podcast. Subscribers actually had access to the same core plays that I won with golf. $150,000 win. And then literally, like you said, about 7 days later, you can't even make it up. I mean, with the hometown Cleveland Indians, same thing. The same thing happened. I basically literally won it all, another $150,000. And the best part was, Ben, as you said, it was a core play. It's under the subscription packages on the website, DFSKarma.com. Same thing over. A lot of things happen at BetKarma.com. You can access the same thing, the same stuff that myself and Ben will talk about all year. Our cash lineup on both sites, which is my main lineup and Ben's main lineup too. You know, I play a lot of volume. You guys can get the same access to that core. Head on over there. Each week we'll talk about it and we'll dissect the previous week's kind of, wins, losses, ebbs and flows. And yeah, the fun of it, Ben, just like you said, I feel the same way. I can't wait to just kind of, tilt that main lineup all week. Of course, I'm going to get exposure to GPPs. We'll talk about that in our Discord chats. And then again, we have some premium content from Ben, yours truly, coming out with, as always, final thoughts, building blocks, and other pieces of content throughout the calendar year. So we have a lot of things happening at the website, a huge staff. Shout out to everybody, including our data team there. We got a lot going on and never want to leave those guys hanging either. With that said, Ben, let's kind of dive into it. I mean, it's week 1, right? At the end of the day, you are the Jedi Master. You have been honestly in the trenches. Let's be real. Before sports really came back, you were pretty aggressive as far as your research goes in the offseason, as always. But I think this year you really got into it a little bit more. So feel free, take the mic, talk real quick about your quick thoughts. Like, you don't need to talk about games or anything, just macro level view, anything that we should know about. And then we'll start doing what we always do, go position by position, and we'll kind of inject a little of game theory. I won't be doing as much talking, especially the first couple of weeks. I'll kind of give my 2 cents and my thoughts, just looking at the data that I have on hand, and we'll go from there. So, Ben, feel free. What is your overall thoughts starting in week 1?
Yeah, so like I said, the shutdown with sports really helped myself get ahead for NFL because that's really all I did during that time that sports was off. Because there was a good chunk of time where we didn't think that there was going to be a baseball season at all. We knew obviously that the NBA would be coming back, but it really helped getting ahead for NFL. So I'm excited for the season, but I think that it's important to remember the biggest edge in daily fantasy really left right now is week 1 NFL. Like that is the biggest edge that you get all season in any sport. There's so much new money coming in and people just don't know what's going on. So I think that it's a great time to play tournaments. Obviously you and I are cash game players. I play mainly cash games, but week 1 is a great time to play tournaments. And this year especially, we don't know a lot about these teams, right? There's no preseason. We haven't been able to see these teams, no preseason games. So there's a lot of unknowns. And I think that it's just a good time, week 1, to be contrarian, kind of go away from if the field really circles on one thing. I think it's fine to differentiate in tournaments because we don't know a lot about a lot of these teams. And obviously there's some huge tournaments and there's going to be a lot of new money coming in. So I think it's just a really good week. And I think that if you're paying attention, you should be able to have a pretty big Sunday.
So to piggyback real quick, and then we will start jumping into quarterback to start it off. The one thing you hit the nail on the head as far as leverage week 1, where there's no preseason, especially these are the weeks that you need to be talking to us. And, there's a whole expert staff at dfskarma.com in the Discord chat. This is the time of year, like you said, you can take something down and catch people off guard. I did forget to mention in the housekeeping opening, I will get in trouble for not mentioning it, but we did finally add our proprietary optimizer partnered with Sabre Simmons specific, coded into our website, and our MVP subscribers in specific get a big discount to that optimizer. I will tell you for a fact, I will be using that and mass entering GPPs in the small dollar tournaments, $3 and under, pretty much every single week. So again, I think that's my way now, especially in FanDuel. I'll tell you straight up, Ben, this is what I'm doing on FanDuel this year. DraftKings is a little bit different, but FanDuel, main lineup, again, you can access that in core plays. And then I'm running mass MME 150 lineups in like the $3. That's what I'm doing on FanDuel. And that's how I get my natural exposure to tournaments. I'm just hoping to bank a couple of them a year and maybe offset some of those losing cash weeks. DraftKings, I'll play more the 3 max entry type lineups, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So without further ado, the people that are mad that we waited 7 minutes to get into it, sorry, but I love y'all. Let's get into it. Quarterbacks, Ben, DraftKings, week 1, talk to us.
Yeah, I think it starts at the top, obviously, with Lamar Jackson. Has really good numbers against the Browns if you look at the 2 games last year. And then his rookie season as well. I think that if you're spending up, you're probably going with him. He's $1,100 more than the next closest, which is Russell Wilson. I don't think that it's a must play, but I do think that if you're spending up, you probably go with him. And then you got these 2 guys in the mid 6K range, which is Josh Allen. Obviously, you get anyone that watches this knows I played Josh Allen a lot last season. More than most people, I would say. Obviously, the Jets lost a ton on defense, starting with Jamal Adams. They're not going to have a good team. So I think that Josh Allen at that price point is a pretty solid point per dollar play. And then $6,100 Cam Newton against Miami. Perfect spot to make your debut for the Patriots. I'm really high on Cam Newton. I had him in season-long rankings. I had him top 7 at the quarterback position. I think that they're going to tailor the offense to him, and I think that obviously the matchup's really good. Miami's defense still is not going to be very good, and I think that Cam might probably be where most people end up landing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting call because, quickly glancing at it, because I know a lot of y'all play FanDuel out there as well as us. My quick synopsis is it's Lamar on FanDuel, and it's Cam on DraftKings for main lineup considerations. Now, I don't think Lamar's a bad play at all. Obviously, I'm not going to go there. I mean, he's in play literally every week. So is Mahomes. But that's just my 2 cents. It does look like it's Cam. I guess he potentially is chalk, but I'll find something different later. And again, in cash games, I don't care too much. I do try to get 1 or 2 guys unique if possible. It's the same thing I do in golf and, essentially in MLB. Even if I have a chalkier type lineup, I mean, we talk about this essentially weekly, year over year on this process, the cash process. It's like you can inject one or two guys that are lower owned, still have a chalky lineup, and still take down everything. I know you have a love affection for Josh Allen. I mean, I sound like I'm on the golf pod with Sam right now, and this is the first disagreement. I mean, I'm not playing Josh Allen. That's just a me thing, and maybe that does burn me, but I think Josh Allen's probably, a better potentially FanDuel play just looking at it. So it's pretty much Cam and Lamar for me, if I can make Lamar work, which I doubt in cash games, but definitely GBBs. You have to have Lamar exposure.
Yeah, you could probably add Wentz in 6,300 Wentz. So I think some Eagles are going to pick up some ownership. I don't think Washington's going to have potentially a mismatch here because their defensive front is going to be really strong. The Eagles have already lost two really good offensive linemen. I feel like the Eagles' offensive line is hurt every single year. I don't know how they run so bad, but they already lost two. So I don't know if it's that great of a matchup, especially a divisional game. Not a huge over-under. But if people are playing 2 or 3 Eagles in cash, like it would probably make sense to just play Wentz. So I could see Wentz probably picking up some ownership.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, let's head to running back and talk about, I guess, let's just start with CMC.
Yeah, I mean, how many times did we last year say, like, you're just jamming in CMC and then he's like 20% owned on DraftKings? It literally happened 5 or 6 times in a row. But with all the value week 1, he'll be high owned. At home, this is one of my favorite games in the entire slate. The Panthers defense is going to be extremely, extremely bad. They lost Luke Kuechly, James Bradbury, Eric Reed. They lost a ton of guys. They drafted 7 players in the draft on the defensive side. They're going to be really young. And I think that with the new offense that they're bringing in, Joe Brady from LSU, I think that they're going to play relatively fast, and I think they're going to give up a lot of points, and it's going to set up a really good game script for Teddy Bridgewater, Christian McCaffrey, and all the guys on their offense. So I love this game, and I actually kind of like the Raiders' offense this season as well. So McCaffrey at 10K, it's obvious. You're plugging him in. He should be the first player in your cash game lineup, especially with all the value this week. You can easily fit him in.
Somehow, 30% of people won't put him in.
Yeah,
maybe 35.
He won't get to 90. No way. He'll probably be like 50 to 60. I would guess.
Thank God DraftKings put that $10,000 price tag on to scare away. I feel like the price will scare some people away, in my opinion. But again, he's 2 players in one. He's a running back and a wide receiver. He's still a value. I mean, $10,000, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, it's probably a lot, even though I didn't understand the value. All right, Ben, my next question to you is there extreme, I feel like week 1, this, to me, at least at first glance, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we have like any cheat codes that we've had in the past on week 1s. Is Antonio Gibson, is he one of them? I mean, that's one guy that's kind of come to my early looking into things. But again, I'm like 9 years behind you as far as studying for this season. So talk to me about any potential cheat codes this week, not named Cordell Patterson, unless he has one.
Yeah, he's listed at wide receiver, which we'll get to. I don't think he's a cash game play. I tweeted about him today. I think it's more of like tournaments I'd be interested in potentially. But if there is a cheat code at running back, it's probably Antonio Gibson. He's min price. So DK actually moved. The min price for running backs used to be 3K, and they moved it up to 4K this year, which helps because we're going to get some guys being inactive. They moved the inactive time to like 90 minutes before games or something. So there's going to be probably some surprises at some point this season. And that kind of helps guys not being just absolute locks at 3K. But if there is a guy, it's probably Antonio Gibson. I really like him this season. I have him on a lot of he's one of my highest owned players in season long. He's a big guy. People act like he's like some small Austin Eckler type. He's not. He's over 220 pounds. He averaged 11 yards per touch in college at Memphis. Really small sample size. He didn't get the ball a lot. But he's an explosive athlete. And I think that they're just going to unleash him week 1, honestly. I read that Bryce Love is probably going to be a healthy scratch, which leaves him with Peyton Barber, Antonio Gibson, and J.D. McKissick to scoop some passing game work. So I think that at 4K, he's a really good play. I don't think that you need to play him in cash if you don't want to because there's a ton of value at receiver. But I don't have any issues in using him. I'll probably end up being overweight on him in tournaments and not playing him in cash.
Interesting.
There's some really good mid-tier running backs that I'm interested in.
Okay, well, let's keep you on this poll here because I like where you're going with it, and it's where I'm not right now. So maybe I have to do some reshuffling before lineups on the weekend. And sidebar, not to get off topic, but I thought this would be funny for everybody listening. So, it's COVID and, nobody sees anyone anymore, I feel like half the time. And my brother has, a 1-year-old now. She just turned 1 a couple months ago. And, he's inviting the whole family over for the Browns week 1 game. And although it's, all our family in the group text is happy, I'm sitting there like low key mad because he doesn't have red zone. Like, I don't want to go over there and just watch the Browns get, punched in the face, which I still think they're actually going to do okay. And I just have to look at my app for updates. So to all you DFS degens out there, I know you know what I'm feeling. I don't want to go, but I'm going to go because I got to be the good brother. You know what I'm saying? And the whole family's going. So I won't be able to really watch anything week 1, which kind of sucks. So anyways, Ben, mid-tier, where are you going? Because again, early on, in full disclosure, I have Gibson in my cash lineup. But that was just off basic research that I was doing the last couple of days. Where are you going then?
Yeah, I think Alvin Kamara is too cheap at 7,200. I really want to get a piece of that game. So that game's the 425. It's 425. High over under should be a lot of points scored, and I really would like to get a piece of that in my cash game lineup. And I think that he's just too cheap. The Bucks defense should probably be pretty stout against the run again. So Kamara averaged 9 targets a game in the 2 games against the Bucks last season. Should get a lot of passing game work in that one. And I just think 7,200 is too cheap. He should be closer to 8K in my opinion. And then Miles Sanders is someone that, I absolutely love. Any bold call I gave out to anybody, it had to do with Miles Sanders. I have him on a ton of season-long teams. 6,300, like I said, I think the Eagles are going to get some ownership. I think Miles Sanders will probably get some ownership. But this guy was on over a 300 touch pace after Jordan Howard went down last season. They have made – everybody thinks that Doug Peterson doesn't want to use one running back, even though he was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs the year that Jamal Charles was the RB1 in fantasy. He's never had a running back like Miles Sanders in Philly until last season. And obviously, once Howard was gone, he gave him RB1 usage. And I think that they're going to continue it. Every move that they've made this offseason says that they're going to use him like a bell cow. And I think 6,300 is the cheapest that he'll be all year. You're not going to get him that cheap again. And I think that I'm definitely playing him and McCaffrey. And then it just depends if I can get up to Kamara or not in the flex.
Absolutely love Kamara. First thing I thought when I saw him at 7,200 was I'm picking him over Michael Thomas. Done. End of story. And I think I'm going to stick with it. I really like Alvin Kamara at 7,200. I know that Tampa Bay, quote unquote, had a really good run defense last year. I don't care. It's PPR. Yeah. Give me the running back who's going to get me at least 7-8 targets and 4 catches. Maybe he gets 5, 65 yards receiving, and then you just hope that he has more than 50 yards rushing and binks one, right? So, there's value right there. I think Michael Thomas, is obviously an elite play, but man, at 9K, I guess we'll talk about him. I don't know. I just couldn't really fit that in there. Man, I like your call, Miles Sanders. I don't know enough about the injury situations. Hearing about 2 linemen out is not good. So I'll look into that, but, I'll take your word for it. 6,300 when I saw him looks like a discount. I know he's got that questionable tag next to his graphic icon on both FanDuel and DraftKings. I can already tell people are pessimistic on him. And it's the same thing with golf. You get this logic early in the week, even though more people will talk him up later in the week just by, default. I still think he's going to be lower owned than we think. So I think that's a great call. I love him. I'm going to play him in one of my main lineups if I don't in my cash. Real quick, I know this is the cash process. Here's a couple of sprinkles on the other guys that I will be playing in 3 max entries. I'm 100% playing Dalvin Cook. I think he's going overlooked this week. I love Joe Mixon this week. Obviously, your boy, Austin Eckler. My God, you can play Austin Eckler in cash. Let's be real. And, of course, Todd Gurley will score not 1 but 2 touchdowns this week. Those are guys that I like a lot. And then Nick Chubb, I think, is a wild card. All right, let's go to wide receiver, Ben.
Yeah, receiver's interesting. There's so much value. If you want to play Michael Thomas, I'm never going to say no, right? Michael Thomas at home is another animal. And like I said, we're expecting lots of points to be scored in this game. Really strong season against the Bucks last year in their 2 meetings. So I have no problems playing Michael Thomas if you want. But like you said, I would rather play Kamara if I was picking one of those 2. Julio seems too cheap for me. Under 8K, they're missing a ton of targets from last season. Obviously, I believe the most vacated targets in the NFL. Them and Dallas are up there, but they lost obviously Sanu half through the season. They lost Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper ate a ton of usage up, right? Like that's a big target that they're missing. So I think that Julio, I think this is the year that he finally breaks through in the touchdown department. And this is just a really good game. The Seattle Atlanta game. I think it's going to be back and forth. And I just think under 8K, he's too cheap. But I don't know if I can get there in cash games. I think if you're going with the 65 and up, I think people will look to Thielen with Diggs gone. Should vacuum the targets there. They drafted Justin Jefferson in the first round, and he was unable to beat out Olabisi Johnson in training camp. So it's going to be Thielen and Olabisi Johnson. And I think, obviously, Thielen could lead the league in targets at the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised. So I think if people spend up at wide receiver, 6,700 for Thielen, I think is probably where they'll go.
Interesting. My quick thoughts on everything you mentioned. Of course, Michael Thomas, absolutely love. If you got to pick, give me CMC, give me Alvin Kamara. I think that'll be the popular combo. So I think Michael Thomas will be a little bit of leverage. But then again, I don't know. People love playing Michael Thomas. So I'm assuming he'll be in a lot of people's cash games. Julio, I love the call. Like your kind of like macro vision call of Julio this year. Like totally makes sense. 7,700. I agree as well of value, but I think the popular play this week is going to be Calvin Ridley, just based on cost. And, at the end of the day, Ridley sees the increased usage as well. So I think Ridley will end up being probably quite popular. I think Thielen is going to go overlooked this week. I don't think many people are going to play him. It's just something that I'm grasping from afar. I could be completely wrong, and feel free to make fun of me on YouTube comments. I love reading those. The best are when they troll me. It's the best. I love it. It's so fun. But yeah, I just think I think Thielen goes overlooked this week. I'm probably not playing him in cash games. So those are just my rebuttals to kind of, some of the things you brought up. Now let's talk about, I think, where you're continuing trying to go as far as finding some value, Ben. So where else are you looking? I have some questions, and I'm going to just see if you kind of potentially bring these guys up in the next tier.
All right. Well, first of all, fitting with Ridley, I think Kenny Galladay is too cheap as well. Matt pointed out that he led the league in targets inside the 10-yard line for receivers last season. Led the league in receiving touchdowns as well. Stafford's back healthy. I really like Stafford for the year. So I think Kenny Galladay is a little bit too cheap if you're talking about Ridley there. But the guy that jumps out to me is Terry McLaurin at 5,600. So if I'm going to have Miles Sanders and I'm going to have another Eagles player who I'll talk about in a second, it would make sense maybe to get the other side of that game. I'm really high on Terry McLaurin in his second year taking that jump with Dwayne Haskins, and I think that he's the easy bet, obviously, to lead the Redskins in targets, and it's just too cheap. That's the cheapest he'll be all year. And then there's a couple other down below. So is there someone else that you want to talk about in that Terry McLaurin tier?
I guess I have potentially different views.
I know who you're gonna. I think I know who you're gonna mention here.
So Terry McLaurin, of course, like me and you love him. I mean, since college, obviously. The only reason I think he's currently not in my like shell cash lineup that I made, and again, this could change. It's only Sunday? Well, it's Monday, technically Labor Day. It's different, but I right now have Gibson pegged in, Ben, and I feel like I know that's not the right way to think, because honestly, you shouldn't think like that when you're building lineups. But right now I'm like, I already got Gibson. But again, I agree. He's too cheap. 5,600. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, he's going to be chalk. But I'm trying to find a way. You know me. I'm trying to almost like diverge off the chalk of a couple guys. And right now that total kind of is making my head think twice. So low total. I don't know. I'm going to wait and see. But I'm finding ways to not get all the Eagles and freaking Redskins in my lineup week one. I just feel like it could be disastrous. But yeah, did you bring up Deshaun? Or is that who the guy you were
that's
say?
who I was going to talk about next. I thought you were going to go with DK Metcalf at 5,800.
Oh, yeah. No, so I absolutely love DK, and I am considering him in my main lineup on both sides. So, yes, I'm a DK truther, and really it's because I don't know if it's just the way that I build up more upside type, cash lineups in a weird way. But why? Do you not think he's going to be popular?
No, I think he'll be popular.
In cash games.
I mean, he's right there with McLaurin, right? Like I don't want to say the smart play, but I think that the obvious play would be to take DK because it's higher total, kind of the same thing. I'm just really high on Tyler Lockett. So, like, if I was going to pick someone from Seattle, I would want Lockett, especially if DK is going to be chalky, because I think DK needs to score like a touchdown or two to really smash, where I think Lockett is going to get you a good game regardless. And people will remember DK from the playoffs, right, when Lockett was banged up. But Lockett's really good, and I think I just prefer him if I was picking him up. But I don't have any problems with DK.
That's a good call. I mean, it really is a good call, and maybe the play should be DK and FanDuel, and just GPPs potentially on DraftKings. But all right, here's a question I have for you. I mean, again, week 1, I think people are going to get a little different, and there's so many guys that are just priced in this range. Hey, man, if Cam Newton's going to be popular, I don't think Julian Edelman's going to be popular this week, Ben. Just based on the guys you're already talking about, I knew it. I knew we were going to get to this point in the podcast. I think Edelman will not be as popular as we think. Am I wrong by that statement?
No, I think anyone that plays Cam is going to play him naked. So yeah, I don't think Edelman will be popular.
So why can't Edelman be Edelman at $6K? I saw that price and I was like, okay, I know not Tom Brady's wet blanket's not there, but what am I missing here? Is it Cam just sucks and can't throw? I mean, come on. That's not true.
Yeah, I don't know. So there was this report that came out that Cam Newton's guys, N'Keal Harry, because they both are kind of behind in terms of the offense. So I think that's probably doing it. But yeah, I don't think people want to play Edelman, honestly. I just think it's just people. You know how people in DFS are, especially in the industry. They don't want to play somebody that's ancient.
Man, that's where I think I'm potentially looking for leverage, and I don't know. I mean, we'll see what projected ownership comes out for, but when you're if I'm playing Cam anyways, like it just can't hurt. I feel like to almost have that connection. If I don't know, it's just a lot of guys here, man. I mean, you could go some of these other routes. Like, let's keep going down here. I know we did not talk about our beloved Browns in cash this week, but the Ravens do have a good defense. I do like Landry a lot this week, but I just don't think it's necessarily on DraftKings. FanDuel, I think you can do whatever the hell you want. Like Landry could be an elite play because it's not a PPR site. So what else are you looking at, Bennett?
Well, anybody real quick, talking about Edelman, I think he's the same price as James White. Who would you rather play there?
I'm not touching James White right now, even though I love him, but there's too many questions, right? I mean, I almost like Rex Burkhead better than White.
That might be a hot take, Anthony. I think that's a pretty hot take. I think White's interesting, but I don't know what to make of that whole situation. They did put Damian Harris on that 3-week IR. I'm pretty sure I saw before we hopped on here. So as long as Sony's good to go, it's going to be Sony, James White, the same situation there. So yeah, I don't really know what to make of it, but I think White's interesting in tournaments. But
real quick, you mentioned a guy at 4,200 in Discord today. I've never heard of him until you brought him up, but apparently he plays for the Raiders. Would you consider any of those $4,000 guys in cash?
So for me, as of right now, obviously it's what is it? Monday night. So there's a lot. I haven't written any content yet. I haven't really dug into the games yet. But as of right now, Deshaun Jackson, who you mentioned, 4,900, and then Bryan Edwards at 4,200. These guys are strongly, like if I had to enter a lineup right now, they would both be in my cash game lineup. Djax played one full game last year. It was week 1 against the same team, 38 DraftKings points. And they're in this same situation this year where they just have no one to throw to. It's Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, Deshaun Jackson. They drafted Jalen Reagor, who I absolutely love, and he got hurt making a tackle in practice. Don't know why he was trying to tackle somebody. But he's not going to play. Alshon Jeffrey is as washed as you could get to the point to where they can't even trade him to anybody. So Deshaun Jackson's going to have to get targets. I mean, he has a strong history. I don't like making the historical analysis just because these teams change so much year to year. He does have a strong history against Washington. The targets are going to be there, and we know he has a ceiling. So I really like him at his price. And then Edwards is going to start at X for the Raiders week 1. And he athletic.
He's starting at X?
Yeah, he's going to start as their first receiver. Yeah, 4,200. Like I said, really like that game. I really like Bryan Edwards. I really liked him coming out. I do like Henry Ruggs as a pivot in tournaments, which we can talk about on another podcast, like the Game Theory podcast. But for cash, Edwards is just too cheap. I'm assuming he'll get ownership as the week goes on, but hopefully, it stays relatively in check.
All right, let's go to tight end. Tight end, I'll start the poll. I think this one's easier for me. I can finally get off the schneid here. I feel like there are ways to access weird lineups this week if you really want to get cheap. I mean, is this a bold statement? But like Captain Jack Doyle, isn't he like the only tight end, with Indy? I mean, I'm just looking for ways to spend down. Of course, you can, if you got the money, play Mark Andrews. Go ahead, play George Kittle. I just don't know if I'm going to have money for those guys.
Well, there's someone I cannot play Jack Doyle. I just can't do it.
I love that guy though.
I know you do love Jack Doyle. The Jaguars could have the worst defense in the NFL. So
that's what I'm saying. Man.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand. But if you're going to play someone from Indy, Paris Campbell's under 4K at wide receiver, another wide receiver value, I'd probably just play him.
All right, who are you looking at a tight end though? I mean, there's no need to talk about Kittle and Mark Andrews. Those guys are locks.
Right.
If you got the money, freaking play those guys. I mean, it's not that hard. But in my opinion, the way Ben and I build generally every week is we don't really prioritize tight end. Feel free to jump in, Ben, if I'm wrong here. But of course, if we have the money, we'll get there.
Yeah, so I think Hayden Hurst was the flavor of the week for season long, right? Everybody wanted to pick Hayden Hurst because he was taking over for Austin Hooper. I get it. Seattle's not good against tight ends. I don't know if you remember last year. We were targeting tight ends against Seattle. They were like the other team, aside from Arizona, that we really like to take tight ends against. So I get the play with Hayden Hurst. Mike Gesicki's 200 more. I know he's playing the Patriots. The Patriots had a bunch of opt-outs on defense, right? There's no guarantee that their defense is anywhere near as good as it was last year. I love Mike Gesicki. So, I mean, I would maybe be contrarian and play Gesicki if you're going to play Hurst. The guy that sticks out to me is Chris Herndon at 3,300. The Jets, I don't know if you've seen this. The Jets have literally nobody to throw to. They have Jamison Crowder. They drafted Denzel Mims, who is hurt. And like anybody else, Rashad Perriman hurt. Quincy Enunwa got hurt way back before they even were practicing. They have no one to throw to. They're starting like Chris Hogan at wide receiver opposite Crowder. Like they don't have anyone to throw to. And Chris Herndon was like a breakout candidate for a lot of people at tight end last year. And I think that he's going to soak up a bunch of targets. I know the Bills' defense is really good, but he's going to have to get targets because they literally just don't have anyone to throw to.
Gun ahead, who are you playing at tight end, Ben? I mean, there's a lot of names here this week. Again, of course, if you can get the Kittles, Andrews, you're going to play him. But are you going to try to force Waller, Ertz, and heck, maybe even a Henry? I like Henry too.
Yeah, so I think Ertz is the chalk tight end.
Okay.
Fitting with the Eagles not having anyone to throw to, But if I play Djax and I play Miles Sanders, I'm not playing Zach. I can't put three Eagles in my cash game lineup because then I would have to play Wentz at that point. So I'm probably not playing Ertz, which could be a mistake. But he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be the highest owned tight end.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, I could see it for sure. Knowing me, I'm gonna end up playing the Mike Gesicki's, the Jack Doyles, the Chris Herndons of the world. I know it. I already know my lineup.
I think I'm gonna play Herndon, honestly.
It's tough though in Buffalo. I mean that's a tough act.
For sure.
Ian Thomas. I mean that's our guy now, right?
Yeah, Thomas is interesting. I think Irv Smith Jr. is interesting. Maybe for tournaments, not necessarily for cash.
Yes, sir. All right, let's finish up with the defense. I know this is everybody's favorite part. Again, you've made it this far. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, we're going to be doing these literally week after week. We get a lot of support for this, so we appreciate it. But Ben, what's your defense of the week? I guess name your value and if you have a little cash, what are you spending on?
Yeah, I mean Colts at 3K. I like Gardner Minshew a lot this season. I actually like the Jaguars a little bit. I like Minshew. I like DJ Chark. I like Laviska Shenault, who we didn't talk about at receiver. I'll talk about him on the Game 3 podcast because I think he's a pretty good tournament play. But they're just going to be really bad, and they don't have a good offensive line. So I think the Colts at 3K will probably end up being pretty chalky. If you could get up to the Bills, I'd like it just because I have no confidence in the Jets whatsoever. But I don't know. I guess the Lions are at home against Mitch Trubisky. That could get some ownership at 2,700. I don't mind that.
My initial thoughts are I really don't care. Honestly, looking at defense this week, I mean, dude, the Jets are at 2,100. Hell, the Redskins have some defensive line pressure. You're looking at a couple sack fumbles. Maybe, you're recovering a fumble for a touchdown. That's all it takes. And then you unlock a different lineup. I mean, to me, if we're going to see the freaking Patriots at 2019 or a team like that scoring 25 points a week, then I'll lose. I'll take my lump, but I don't see it happening this year. I really am not going to be paying up for defense ever. I guess if I got money, I'll look into the Chargers potentially at 2,800. So that about does it, Ben, unless you got anything else to add here for week 1.
No, I mean, just be sure to check out all the free content, dfskarma.com. I mean, we have so many articles that we drop for free, and we have some of the most affordable pricing in the industry. I know there's some sites that popped up over COVID that are, look, I'm not saying anything bad because I have a lot of friends across the industry, but there's a lot of expensive websites, and I think that for what you get from us, we actually have some pretty affordable pricing. So we are a good place to check if you want to pay for content.
Yes, sir. Great points. Thank you as always to everybody. We'll be back next week. As always, leave us a like, give us a follow on all the Android, Apple. Check out betkarma.com, what all of our guys are doing over there for all the betting needs. Obviously, this is a DFS podcast, but we have invested a lot of time, energy, and money into that website and that brand as well. Thanks again, guys, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.